Okay, in today's video, we're gonna be doing a top 20 RTS tunes of all time. Now, this will be purely my opinion. I know there's gonna be a lot of tunes I'm gonna have to miss off because obviously there's hundreds of tunes in the game, and only I can fit 20 in the top 10. Obviously, I'll do a few honorable mentions. Now, I'll be rating this purely off of how impactful they were on the game, and in their prime, how good were they, and past their prime, how much playtime were they seeing, if you will. So, with that being said, this is a top 20 video. I will have honorable mentions, and please leave a comment who I missed off, who you swap around. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Discord link in the description below. RTS Smash or Pass should be out tomorrow, so look forward to that. But before we get into the list, let's start off with a few honorable mentions. So, obviously, like I said before, there's hundreds of tunes in the RTS, and there is probably so many of them that are good. But I've decided to do 10 honorable mentions, but obviously I know I can't fit everything on a list. So, honorable mention number 1 would go to S Class Connor. Now, the reason S Class Connor is not on the list is because he came very late into S Class meta, but his special, his active skill of crosshairs, daze, and the fact he could command turn 1 rush was absolutely amazing, but it purely was the fact he came very late into the S class meta and he just didn't see enough play. Second of all, we got 5-star Michonne with Impair, great leader skill, and whenever she rushed, no one is ever going to have the chance to rush a game because she impaired for 5 turns. Next of all, we got 6-star Indomitable Governor, 100% AP on his weapon, and the fact he's I believe he slowed people was unbelievable. Such a very well. He wasn't very meta relevant, but he was a very very nice promo tune to have. Then we got 6-star Raven, literally horrible tune to face. She gave everyone elusive turn 1, and the only person you could hit on that defense team would be herself. So she was an absolute pain in the ass. Next we got 6-star Mia. Mia, 2,500 main whenever she died. She had Outlast, made it so annoying. And even now, she still can be used in tower teams just to slow things down. She was the ultimate stall, and she was one of the main reasons the 6-star era came to a close. Now, next we got next we got Mackenzie and Tara. Mackenzie and Tara, they're pretty much on the bench for this one because purely in their prime of the S-class meta, they really didn't see much use, and they came very late into it. Granted, Tara did see a bit of use towards the end, but not enough to warrant her a spot in the top 20. Next, we had Marge and Axel, both S-class. Obviously, Marge, her main downfall was her cleanse, but her positives was her cleanse, so she was very iffy on that part. Also, the fact she locked out bleed, infection, and whatnot, she was great. Gave Guardian 2, exhaust. She was a great leader, but yet again, she came very late into the meta, and there was a very easy counter for her if you knew how. And then obviously Axel, stun resistance, and he gave 100% AP and boosted his own attack. He was just absolutely amazing. Obviously, you got Alpha, Scotsman, and so many other characters I could include, but obviously, this will take a very long time for me to mention all of them. So let's go to the main video. So number 20, S-Class Rick. Now there is a reason I put S-Class Rick on this list, and that is purely because he was fucking unique, and he held his ground for a very very long time. Now he was a green. He did have an 8% off trait weapon, which was absolutely fantastic. He also had an active revive, making him amazing for getting teams going faster, reviving if someone died, great on defense, great on attack. The fact he could also be ran in a full strong team, because obviously he was an 8%, making it so you could rush it a little bit sooner. He was amazing. The better version of a 6-star Maggie, yeah, he just held his ground so long, and he was used up until the end of the S-Class meta. Considering he was one of the earlier ones, yeah, he held his ground very, very well. Now, next one, it's a bit of an odd one here. Now, like I said, I'm going to try and make it a bit more variety, so it's not all going to be S-Class, it's not going to be all 6-star. It's going to be a bit of everything, so you get a little bit of everything in this list. So, number 19, Jesus. Now, the Jesus we are talking about is the 5-star one. That was the yellow whisperers into screams. Now, what this Jesus did was absolutely nuke the meta. So, deal 325% damage to one enemy and all enemies adjacent to it. All teammates get 15 crit for 2 turns. Whenever he rushed, because he had one of the highest attack stats in the 5-star era, whenever he rushed down the middle, nothing would survive. And if it did, it had the smallest slither of health. And considering it was a very blue dominant meta back in the 5-star era, especially on defense, yeah, he absolutely slapped. And if you played in the 5-star era, if you had Jesus, you knew how impactful he was. Now, number 18. Probably, I'm going to say one of the main reasons we saw a massive decline in players in the 6-star era, Negan. Payback Negan. Whenever people saw he got released, they said, that's it, I'm not doing it. Because, as we all know, Payback to this day is still one of the most powerful specialist skills in the game. You cannot rush them. You cannot active skill them. You cannot do anything that does more than 30% of their damage before it gets slapped back at you. Even now in cheese teams, he can be used. So, yeah, dare I say more, he was such a nightmare in the 6-star era, especially with him and Mia. 2 Negans, 2 Mias. There was no limits on how many tunes you could put on a team. You could have 5 Negans if you wanted. Absolutely a nightmare to deal with. Now, next of all, we're going up to number 17. Negan's big brother, if you will. Mr. Lou. Mr. Lou, the S-Class Payback. Now, he was a pain in the ass because, yet again, no limits on how many you can have on a team, and most people ran 2. The main reason people ran 2 is because this character gets camouflage and gains 25% of their max HP for 4 turns. All enemies get 1500 bleed for 3 turns, and this could be active skilled turn 1. And also on his rush, he had 3000 bleed, but that's not the main thing. His active skill was he could literally give 1500 bleed to all the enemies turn 1. If you had 2, that was 3000 bleed. You could not survive many turns like that. And the fact he was a payback, you couldn't rush him. Also, his base weapon was absolutely amazing for keeping him alive. So yeah, Mr. Lou had so much use, even to the end of the S-Class meta. He held his own ground. Now, number 16, Arav. Arav, the S-Class. Oh my god, oh my fucking god. He held his own. This man could wipe a team on his own. The only problem was exhaust. And he had a major problem with exhaust going further into the S-Class meta. That's why he's a little bit lower down. But essentially what this man had was follow-up. Follow-up, we all know, is amazing. But here's the rush that made it so good. Deals 750% damage to a line of enemies. That is massive. This character gains 100% AP, and because he had follow-up, he could rush twice. Command him, he could rush 3 times in a single team, in a single turn, sorry. And people were using him offense, defense, whenever he did not stop. And obviously his active skill was actually pretty good, up to 3 teammates recover from main, bleed, and burn. It was a turn 2. He was absolutely outstanding. Now, number 15, my personal favourite 5-star ever in the game, and that is Yellow Victor. Yellow Victor was the first ever 5-star I ever pulled in this game, and he was the best I could have pulled in the game, in my opinion. So what Victor did and what he enabled people to do in the 5-star era was disgusting. What he did was deal 175% damage and minus 50% defense for 3 turns to all enemies adjacent. To one enemy and all enemies adjacent. So yeah, 3 turns of minus 50% defense, meaning if you had a turn 1 team, he was literally the GOAT. Defense down, get an AoE hitter, and that is it, game over. Even if you didn't have a turn 1 team, he was amazing. Like, you get him going, then a spray and splash machine, I believe it was, the one with camouflage, game over. Nothing would stand in its way. So yeah, Victor, one of the older 5-stars and one of the best ones. Now, going into number 14, you're going to, I'll leave it for a bit later, but Zachary, 6-star. Yeah, he was broken. There's no way about it. So first of all, he had the active skill of stun one enemy for 4 turns. So one enemy gets stunned for 4 turns. That is a lot, considering it was a turn 2. Um, and here's the biggie. So deal 1,000 maim, which was quite a bit back then. 1,000 maim damage and minus 20% AP to up to 5 enemies. So 5 enemies got minus 1,000 maim, minus 20% AP. All teammates recover from all penalties. This character regains up to 100% of their max HP. So everyone on the enemy team recovers from all penalties, and he gained all of his HP back, making him such a bastard to beat on defense and offense. You could just purely auto with this this mess of a toon on attack. So yeah, number 14, Zachary. Now, number 13, Jesus. We're talking S-Class with the camouflage lead. Now, I don't think I have to say, camouflage leads were just cunty. They were fucking boring to attack. Everyone had it because it was widely free to play. It was extremely free to play, and everyone and their nan had one. It was not fun to face, and what he had on his kit was just disgusting. So his active skill, up to 5 enemies get 2,000 trauma and an impair for 2 turns. And if you tried to get rid of the impair by cleansing it, you took trauma damage. And obviously, in being impaired for 2 turns, you can't do anything. You really can't do anything. And also, he gained 50% AP. Now that's all right. The fact he gave camouflage, and he gave defense toons, defense range toons, or defense, that was annoying. But his rush was horrible as well. Up to 2 enemies get minus 50% attack, daze, stun, and confuse for 2 turns. So, minus 50% attack, daze, stun, and confuse to 2 enemies, which is absolutely insane for 2 turns. While battling on the defense team, up to 2 teammates gain 100% AP. Such a nightmare if you ever let that happen. So, yeah, he was horrible. You had to get Rush to go in turn 1 to get rid of him. He was an absolute nightmare. Now moving on to number 12, Amber. Amber, what can I say? You guys saw all of my videos. If you were back around the 6-star era, she was absolutely outstanding. She killed everything. Her rush, her active, her weapon, it was all fantastic. First of all, her rush, 600% damage and 100% heal reduction for 1 turn up to 3 enemies. With follow-up, that was incredibly nasty. Also, for her active skill, focus in AP gain, this character gets focused for 4 turns and gains 50% AP, which is absolutely great. But the weapon made follow-up so good. So her third slot was bonus attack plus 150% attack when attacking enemies with less than 50% of their max HP. So obviously, that is insane. With follow-up, and whenever she rushed, she just killed everything. With a Diego paired with it, absolutely amazing. Go back and watch some of my older videos. You'll see how amazing she was and how impactful she was on the meta. So yeah, Amber, number 12. So number 11, everyone should have seen this one coming. 5-star Andrea. Andrea, everyone in the 5-star days was using the Andrea. Most had 2 or 3 of her. What most people would do is run 3 on attack or 3 on defense, get them going turn 2, and then pretty much nuke everything on the team. Now, deal 800% damage to 1 enemy, it was insta-killing. It really was back then. And also, she had a leader skill where I believe it was all tough teammates get 30% attack and a very large when attacking. So, she had the ideal kit, and she just easily wiped through anything and one-shot them. And considering she was very free-to-play friendly in the supply depot, most people had 2 or 3, and as you can imagine, she just ran rampant. And if you were playing back then, people had abundance of her in their inventory because 45 AP, she was going really fast. Dare I say more? Yeah, Andrea, number 11. Okay, next, Princess. Princess was going to be on this list no matter what. She was free to play, and she was absolutely outstanding for what she did. Deal 1000% damage to a line of enemies. That is very, very, very good. This character gets 50% bonus HP. While battling on the defense team, get 30% defense for 3 turns, which I don't think anyone really paid much attention to. But what made Princess really, really good was a turn 2 active skill of up to 3 enemies get normalized and taunt for 3 turns. This character gains 35% AP. Now, what made Princess so good is you can make her go turn 1 and then active turn 2. So pretty much you make a rush down the line turn 1, then turn 2 you could normalize and taunt, which it was amazing. 3 people, like absolutely amazing. And the fact she was free to play, it was great. Also, she had Berserker, so whenever she get hit, she gained attack. Pairing that up with her taunt was amazing, and her base weapon honestly was pretty fucking good. Now, yet again, you can go back and watch my past videos. You will see how much I used her and how good she was. She changed the game for many people and was a staple character in every single attack team for a very, very long time. Yeah, what can I say? She deserves to be on this list. Next of all, we got Diego, probably my most used and favorite 6-star. Absolutely outstanding for what he did. So first of all, leader skill, all blues and greens get 40% attack and a huge on attack. That was great, absolutely great. Green and blue later on down the road was so fucking good, and that's why Diego's way better than Alice. Alice only gave it to greens and reds, and she only gave attack up, while defense down is ultimately way better long term. So what does Diego do? Deal 250% damage to one enemy and all adjacent. Those enemies get 65% defense down, which is quite a lot, and they get impaired for 2 turns. Great control, great obviously defense down. He does so much damage as well. And obviously green and blues, you could pair it up with Amber, Princess. So many good greens and blues out there. And his active skill is actually really good. All teammates get focused for 2 turns. Yeah, it was fucking nuts. And long term down the road, he kept his value. He most definitely did. Until honestly late S class. Well, not late, but quite decently into S class. Because people were still using him for his leader skill. Because he had good coverage. Greens and blues were meta. And yeah, he fucking slapped. Go back and watch the old videos. He was he was a fucking amazing toon. Nothing more to say. Now number 8, Jeremiah. We're going to try and speed this up a little bit. So Jeremiah, absolute fucking beast. So all teammates get 40% attack and disarm for what, and the enemy gets disarmed for like 2 or 3 turns. Yeah, he fucking was amazing towards the end, especially against Jesus teams, Mars teams, whatever it was. He's kept his value. First of all, you can get him go in turn 1. So again, him go in turn 1 would enable him to attack 3 times for 500%. One enemy and all other enemies get minus 75% defense, which is absolutely insane. And they get minus 50% AP as well. Because, yeah, even early Mythic era, he was fucking amazing. That minus 75% defense and that disarm on leader skill was absolutely amazing. No one can ever convince me otherwise. Late S class 2, yes, but honestly, he was, like, if you played around with him late S class, he slaps the living shit out of any defense. Because once he started going, that was it. Game over. Minus 75% defense, you could tickle them and they would fall over. Also, his active skill, this character gets focus and 70% crit for 3 turns. This character gains 50% AP, which honestly wasn't good. But the fact that you could get him go in turn 1 and he would get his minus 75% defense turn 1 to the enemy, yeah, it's a no-brainer. He was absolutely nuts. And the fact he had, he got disarm turn 1, meaning no weapons would stop him. Yeah, he was nutty. No questions about it. Definitely still get one if you haven't got one already. He's still very useful in the Mythic era. Okay, number 7, I'm going to do a joint number 7 here. And it's going to be Priya 5-star and Priya S-class. So, I think they're pretty much the same here. So I'm going to put them as joint. Considering they're both the same character, just different, classes. So, first of all, normal Priya. She was, yeah, she fucking killed the 5-star era pretty much. Not killed it, but like, for defense and attack, she was fucking insane. So, you gotta remember, back in the 5-star era, stun guns, impair, all that was very, very rare. It was very rare to see people with them. But she came with a base weapon of stun. And it was on yellow, an off trait. So, instantly amazing, right? Instantly, absolutely amazing. The fact she had 45 AP and you can get her go in turn 1 to confuse people for 3 turns, I believe it was. Yeah, That was fucking insane. With the bound weapon, she was the 5-star killer. She was one of the very latest 5-star tunes before the 6-star era, and rightfully so because she was fucking busted. Two of them on defense was horrible, especially if one of them went turn 1, because you gotta remember, there was no active skills or nothing back then. It was purely what you could rush. So if you didn't have someone rushing turn 1 to stop her or killing her turn 1, it was just an absolute nightmare for you. And obviously, we're going to go into the S-Class Priya. 50% attack and huge AP for all ranged tunes. She kept her weight. She just carried for so long. Like 3 attacks of 275% damage to one enemy. Confuse and impair to a line of enemies, and the fact she could hold a rampage gun, I don't have to say anything else. Priya with rampage was relevant for so long, plus her leader skill and her being paired with Diego early stages for the defense down, then letting her rush with a rampage. Absolutely insane. Dare I say more? Priyas are easily number 7. Okay, number 6, we're going to make it nice and quick. Andrea, yeah, she was busted. S-Class Andrea, busted. So at the start of every turn, she would gain 30% AP and recover from impair. Absolutely amazing. She would also do 1,000 damage to a line of enemies. Up to 2 teammates gain 50% AP and get 50% attack for 2 turns. She also had a turn 2 of normalize and focus, which was absolutely busted. If you had 2 Andreas on a team with a Dr. Stevens and a command with 8%, both Andrews would rush and the leader would rush, meaning 3 people rushed turn 1. It was absolutely insane. Plus she normalizes, making her a great normalized support. And obviously when she keeps gaining 30% AP every turn, yeah, it's just non-stop AP flow, and yeah, you can make so much happen with her. The damage is great, and the team combinations you can make just purely with her was nuts. Yeah, Andrea number 6. Okay, Mythic Zachary, I don't think I have to go into much detail here, but I will. So, 30% bleed to all teammates, to all enemies, sorry. Yeah, it's busted. 30% is incredibly high, considering you can get attack up to 100k, that's like 30k bleed. Meaning when he's on the defense, you need to bring in a counter, and he forces you to take up a slot of your team for purely countering him. And on attack, yeah, you got to mod all your team versus bleed, because if you don't, you're taking so much bleed damage, and he has caused so much problems for the Mythic era and was a tune that never should have been released. Zachary at number 5. Now, as we go into nearing the top 4, these are just tunes that should never have been released or had really, really bad kits and were not thought over at all. So Akira, first of all, his weapon made it so he recovered from any penalty at the end of his turn, and he gained a Guardian 2 shield, so the only way to stop him from recovering all his penalties was to disarm him. Also, here's the big iffy thing with Akira, and I don't think anyone's going to dispute it with me. He should not have had that weapon. But the worst thing was his active skill. Active skill made him busted. It was a free win if you had him on your team. Revived up to 3 teammates with 25% of their max HP. Those teammates get 100% of their AP. So, turn 3, he's reviving 3 people with 100% AP, meaning they're all rushing that turn. It's pretty much a free win, and considering you can't stun him, confuse him, or anything, because of his weapon, he was pretty much near indestructible, and you couldn't kill him with trauma because there's a Paragon mod for it. So yeah, he was the definition of an easy auto win. He should never have been released with this kit. Period. Go back and watch some old videos, you'll see what I mean. Yeah, Akira at number 4. Okay, Magna's at number 3, but before that, comment in the comments below who you think the top 2 is. There's loads of tunes in the game, but who do you think my top 2 would have been? Now, Magna, number 3. First of all, broken kit. In my opinion, I've said this loads of times before on stream, I think she is the pure reason S-classes were forced to get stupid, and that's what I mean by Marge Jesus. So, first of all, her weapon made it so she could normalize anyone turn 1 by attacking them. Second of all, she had a turn 1 fucking active skill, meaning she could command rush. Because on her active, this character and up to 2 teammates get 100% bleed resistance for 2 turns. A line of enemies get crosshairs for 2 turns. This character gains 100% AP. Now, she did have 40% attack, huge AP on attack, and confuse resist, making sure Jackie was irrelevant as fuck. Now, her rush deal 2 attacks of 550% damage, 1,100 total to 1 enemy. That enemy and one of the enemies, gets minus 75% defense, huge. and impair it for 2 turns. This character and up to 2 teammates recover from all penalties. So yeah, she was kind of nuts, wasn't she? She was kind of nuts. You could rush your turn 1, you could normalize turn 1. Yeah, she had so many things going for her. She was just a broken toon, and the fact she instantly got rid of Jackie, yeah, she was great, and she was just a universal leader and the best leader at the end of the S-Class era. Yeah, period. She was fucking phenomenal. Now, on to top 2, where it gets a little bit interesting. Okay, number 2. We all knew Doc Stevens would make an appearance on the list somewhere, but he is number 2. Now, his weapon, first of all, when being attacked, a better chance for 2 teammates to gain 40% AP. That's pretty insane. Now, granted, he's always been very relevant, and here's why. So, here's where his kit becomes absolutely nuts. So, turn 1 active. This character gains 100% AP, so he's rushing turn 1 if with a command. Taunt and impair up to 3 enemies for 1 turn. This character recovers from disarm. Up to 2 teammates gain 60% AP. So turn 1, 2 people are gaining 60% AP, aka the 2 people with the highest AP. Meaning you can make Arav and Princess, like I did in the old days, go turn 1 and yeah, game over. And all I had to do was bring in a Doc Stevens and a command. It was 3 wins. Now, the fact he had a base weapon like that, it was alright, but you really didn't need it. And the fact is, he was a 6-star. Doc Stevens was a 6-star. He was seen in every single attack team through the Mythic era. Every single attack team through the Mythic era, he was used on. And I'm not joking. Every single one, pretty much up until the end, he was getting used in. And even now, I do think in the future, Doc Stevens will see a return sometime down the road when more tunes are released. I do think he will make a comeback. So yeah, the fact he can make people go turn 1, and he's been so relevant for so long, does say something, doesn't it, for a 6-star. So what I used to do personally with mine was I had Jeremiah and Andrea. My Andrea would pop turn 1, making it so the other Andrea would get enough AP, and then I would just use the Jeremiah to rush as well. So yeah, it was very nice. Also, if you remember the Magna Beta Andrea team, yeah, it was grim. You could pretty much turn 1 Jackie teams. It was funny as fuck. Doc Stevens made it all possible. Without Doc, none of that would have been possible. He was arguably the most, well, like I said in this video, second best toon ever released in this game, in my opinion. Now, number 1, Trader. There is no doubt in my mind he was the most broken toon ever to be released in the RTS, and he should never, ever have been released. Now, he was the most broken toon in the game, he was the most OP toon in the game, and I'll explain now. Personally, I boycotted the living shit out of him when he came out, just before our World Champions, mind you. So, first of all, his weapon. When being attacked, a great chance to cause 25% infection for 2 turns to an enemy. So meaning if you don't heal 25% of your HP in 2 turns, your toon dies. Great. But here's a little bit of an extra thing here. His rush. This character gets 50% bonus HP and 50% defense for 2 turns. While basting on the defense team, up to 3 enemies get taunt for get taunt, minus 50% attack, and heal reduction, 100% heal reduction for 2 turns. So you get taunted, minus attack, and heal reduction for 2 turns. Meaning if you attack into infection, there is no way of you healing it. Meaning you automatically die in 2 turns. And because you were hitting into his base weapon, if you got hit with that infection, you couldn't heal. You couldn't heal at all. Now, he also had a turn 1 active, of course he did. This target enemy gets 15% infection for 2 turns. This character gains 35% AP. Fun fact, just before World Champions, when he got released, you could make him go turn 1. Meaning turn 1, you'd get taunted, minus attack, and heal reduction. So yeah, you didn't really have much of a fighting chance, but with any toons, there are ways around them. You could confuse them, taunt them, bleed them. There's loads of ways to get around the toons, right? Yeah, wrong. You see, Trader was different. Trader was different because he had the only specialist skill in the game to date that resists 50% of everything. Meaning, you try to stun him, he has 50% chance to resist it. You try to heal reduction him, 50% chance to resist it. Now, if you had a 50% burn resist on him, that would become 100% because he already resists everything at base 50. So You could stack two things to make it him absolutely, yeah, he couldn't be affected by it. So if you didn't want him to be bled out, put on 50% bleed resist. That would then make it 100%. If you don't want him to be taunted, put 50% taunt resist on him. So he could be completely resistant to two things. But if that wasn't enough, he just has a base 50% resistance to everything. And since you ideally would want to control him with like a dock or something, you just couldn't do it. Paired with a Jackie lead, he was an absolute fucking nightmare. And up until the end of the S-Class meta, he was still used on every single team. And the worst thing is, he could solo teams. He could solo teams purely on his own, because once you get in that taunt loop, you get infected. And when you have 100% heal reduction, you can't recover it unless you have fast healing. But oh wait, you've got the heal reduction. So it did limit you on what you could do. You had to control him or kill him very fast, and if you couldn't do that, it was game over. And plus, with the 50% resilient to everything on base of his specialist skill, he was broken to fuck. And I know many people quit because of him, because he was a stupid kit. And because of War of Champions, everyone went for him. It was fairly simple. And that concludes my top 20 RTS tunes of all time. Please do leave a comment in the description if you agree with me, disagree with me. Discord link in the description. Smash or Pass should be tomorrow. Hope you enjoy this sort of video. I should do a few more videos like this in the future, but not too many more, as I don't really like milking video ideas. So with that being said, I hope you all have a good day. I'm sorry this video was long, but I sort of had to for this sort of video. So yeah, peace out, boys. Have a good day, and yeah, peace.